Hi, this is Pat Gahn, manager of the Ubuntu server and OpenStack team. I'm here with the last session, well, my last session, I think there's a plenary one after this, of the Ubuntu, oh my goodness, I'm the last session and I can't even say the name of it anymore. The Ubuntu Developer Summit, there we go, June 2014, and I'm here in Portland, Oregon. We're going to talk to you today about the database plans. Or we're going to talk a little bit about what happened in 1404 and where we're headed in the future, and maybe touch base. We've got several representatives from several of the databases to talk about what their plans are. So what I wanted to do first was kind of go across and introduce everyone, make sure everybody knows who everybody is, and so just a quick what your name is, and why you're here, I guess, and then we can talk about 1404. So Akhil, you're first alphabetically for me. So if you want to introduce yourself, that'd be awesome. Oh, maybe we should have checked and make sure everyone's sound worked okay. It shows you as unmuted.
Struggling to hear you, Akhil.
Struggling? I don't hear him at all.
Can't hear anything, yeah. Can't hear Matt either.
This must be conspiracy. Someone is. James, do you want to introduce
Okay. Okay, so this is Akhil. He works for Oracle. He's been helping out with the packaging for MySQL 5.6 during the last cycle. He's done a lot of the work and a lot of the commits for the 5.6. There we go. I mean, he's on now.
I hear sound.
Okay, so let's move on to Clint.
Yeah, there, I heard something.
I don't know, he's muted.
All right.
Okay, let's go. Clint, you're on.
Hi, everybody. I think my sound works.
Yes.
I'm Clint. I work for HP. I'm still an Ubuntu core dev these days and a Debian developer who I have been sort of coordinating the package uploads, and Debian I haven't really been participating much because I don't have much time to. But I've been helping to maintain MySQL and the various forks and flavors. I've tried to help shepherd them in and bring in people to assist with that. And my primary interest today is making sure that that process continues and that James Page keeps doing all the work.
Nice.
James, you're next for me on my screen.
Okay, cool. So I'm James Page. I'm one of the tech leads in the Ubuntu server team. And in the last kind of 6-9 months, I've picked up sponsoring and maintaining MySQL packaging in one form or another. So that's me.
Okay, I think. Okay, just let me pause it. Okay, sorry, I know this is the last one and we've got craziness. So Matt, you are up next.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. Cool. So I'm Matt Griffin. I'm in product management with Percona. And we've been attending a few of these since I started at Percona a little over a year ago, and just looking on how we can improve Ubuntu.
Okay. So next is Mike.
This is Mike Frank. I'm a product manager in the MySQL group, and actually I'm a friend of Dustin Kirkland's, and so he and I got to know each other quite well in the previous iteration. But anyway, I'm working with the MySQL release engineering and repository team to see that we have the best packages on Ubuntu and work with you guys for win-wins.
Okay, cool. All right, so Morgan.
Oh, I'm next Nora. Excellent. I work for Oracle as well as MySQL Community Manager. So in case there weren't enough Oracle people here, I'm here to join in.
So, Norvald, you're up now.
Yeah, yes, another Oracle guy.
You should make a little title thing and make that as your description.
And I've been following various systems, including Ubuntu for a few years now, and try to make sure we respond to your needs.
Cool. All right. Hey, Robbie. Okay, Robbie, I'll give you like 2 seconds, and then we're moving on because intros.
Yeah, I'm Robbie.
There
Sorry
you
for
are.
finding the unmute button. I'm Ubuntu server dev. I have been looking after MySQL 5.5 recently in Ubuntu, setting stuff up to Debian, and I guess I'm going to be taking over 5.6 soon.
All right. So, James. Oh, and I'm Pat. I claim that I'm queen of the Ubuntu server, but I'm really the manager of the Ubuntu server and OpenStack team. So I work closely with James and Robbie. So James, would you lead the discussion about what's happened in 1404?
Okay, yeah. So quick 5-second recap on 1404. So we had, in addition to MySQL 5.5 being continued to be maintained from 13.10, we also introduced 3 new MySQL packages. We have MySQL 5.6, which landed in Universe as a preview, which the server team are maintaining with updates as well. MariaDB 5.5 landed, and so did Percona XtraDB Cluster 5.5. So that's where we got to during 1404. I think we had some fairly stretching goals. I don't think we got quite as much as Percona stuff in as the Percona guys wanted to, which was a shame. But we just ran out of time towards the end of the cycle, to be honest. So hopefully we can improve and expand that this cycle. We kind of started the work on the whole approach for having slot-in replacements for MySQL. So there were already some existing MySQL style packages for allowing other options to slot in, and we expanded that to cover the kind of 4 or 5 core packages that each of the variants provides. But there's still some extended work to add that, so things that depend on MySQL Server can also depend on this extra virtual package, and they don't uninstall themselves when you install MySQL 5.6, for example, at the moment. So I know Robbie's going to be working on that this cycle, and hopefully that's something we can SAE back to 1404 as well, just to make 1404 users' life a little bit easier. We also did quite a lot of work on the charms. Marco's not here, but I know he's just been going through a fairly significant rewrite of the MySQL charm to support things better and be a bit more maintained than it has been in probably the last 12 months. It's one of our oldest charms, so.
So I heard that Marco is working close with some folks on Oracle. So
yeah, he has been. Yeah.
So
I think
Norvald or Morgan, Mike, are you guys involved in that at all?
With the charms.
Yeah, with the charms. The MySQL charms.
Yeah, I've provided some feedback, and so has Mike.
Okay.
Just some suggestions. I don't know if we have anything to report back yet, but the charms, they present some flexibility so that it doesn't have to be on the packages that necessarily come from Ubuntu. So one of the things we're looking at is potentially using the Oracle MySQL repos and trying to present how the charms could work with MySQL 5.7 and things like that.
Yeah, I think when you realize you have that capability with charms, it's kind of, at least for me, it was a bit of an aha moment. It was like, wow, okay, it's something that's very cool. Anyway, sorry, James, I just had to ask that question. All right, take control again.
There's certainly a lot more flexibility in there, that's due to arrive in the next couple of weeks for the MySQL charm. We also introduced the Percona cluster charm to support deployment of Percona XtraDB cluster, which is the active MySQL that we got in 1404, which works. It's not actually in the charm store yet, but it should be fairly soon as soon as someone's reviewed it. So. And we've now got Otto as well. Hey, Otto. We can't hear you.
That seems to be a theme of this. It's our last session. We haven't had any technical difficulties. We were due. I'm sorry, you guys. I'm sorry it all had to happen in this session. It was time. Anyway, so James, do you want to continue?
Okay. So should we talk about kind of immediate plans for Utopic? I'll let Robbie chip in as required because I know he's slightly closer to this work than I am. But I think the plan is that we will switch in MySQL 5.6 as our default MySQL, and we'll bring the baseline up in 14.10 to be the 5.6 baseline. So MySQL 5.5 will drop in the archive. The Kona XGDB cluster will be upgraded to 5.6. And we'll do the same with MariaDB. I know the compatibility there is slightly different with MariaDB 10 in that it's probably not anymore, but it's still a wire-compatible MySQL alternative. So I think we've probably got the right safeguards in the packaging already for the kind of one-way nature of that upgrade. If you want to switch from MySQL 5.6 to MariaDB 10, for example. I know we need to complete the virtual MySQL implementation. I know Robbie's kind of scoped that out in terms of the work that needs to be done there, and he's going to own that. I think we're going to do an Ubuntu and submit patches back into Debian. That's kind of the most expedient way to get stuff done in the next 4 months for Utopic. Is it Utopic or Utopic? I don't know. I'll probably say
I kind of go back and forth just to keep everyone on their toes.
Apparently, it's because it's Utopia. It's Utopic.
Okay, fine. Excellent.
I thought it was a topic.
I call it unicorn, people. It's unicorn.
Okay. So what I was gonna say is I'm gonna now ask the various other MySQL distributions to update on kind of their plans in the next few months. So going kind of left to right, I'll pick product managers. So we'll go. Matt Griffin, you're on. What's happening with Percona?
So we're working on finishing up the packaging for Percona Server 5.6, and I need to check in with George on where that stands. And adopting all the new methods and approaches that we need to take. And then we are also looking into the test improvements, so we can automate more of the testing for Percona XGDB cluster. So then, kind of making a clear path for 5.6. And then I still have the MRE on my plate that I need to get that ball rolling.
Right, but the testing spree will help with that.
Yeah, definitely.
That's definitely a key piece to being able to successfully get through that MRE process.
Yeah, so just so everybody's aware, the Kona XGDB cluster,
there was some activity.
You can't run the MySQL test suite against it right now, just so everybody's aware. There's some challenges around the asynchronous replication stuff, which means it doesn't run. Well, okay, it doesn't run consistently. And the guys who work on Percona XGDB cluster and the guys at Codeship are both aware of this issue and working towards resolution, is my understanding.
So I think that's on our plate of the items that we're talking with Codeship about, and I need to. I've been away this week, and I need to check in and see if that's kind of boiled to the top and where that stands on our work with those guys. But I'll come back with more details soon on that.
So Matt,
but those are kind of the principal activities.
Yeah, so on the Percona Server 5.6, are you guys planning to charm that?
Yes, I need to check in with I think our consulting team was going to lead that effort. and I need to check in with them and see when that falls in their availability.
Okay. Yeah, if that doesn't, definitely the packaging and making that happen fits, we need, those things have to be done by the different freeze dates. So definitely the right priority is to focus on the packaging and getting that into Utopic first. But definitely having a charm is something that would be valuable.
Yeah, I think that's on our list for this cycle. But yeah, you're right. Focusing on the packaging first, so we can hit all the deadlines, should be the priority.
Excellent.
And we don't have any paths, so this is basically going to be a YouTube. The Percona server is a Utopic going forward story, because I don't know how we would.
Well, we could provide it via backports. Is the only option. So.
Okay. Is that something, Matt, you're thinking about doing? Providing? Are you hoping to make it available on Trusty?
Yeah, I think
we'd love to. I don't think we really that. So if we could get some guidance there.
Yeah.
And if we have the 14.
So we can help you. So I think step one is what you're doing is get it into Utopic, and then after that, I think James and Robbie can provide you guidance on how to get it into backports and to get a path into Trusted. Sorry, James, I totally cut you off.
Fine,
I covered.
What I just said, so that's fine.
Hey, I'm trainable. Okay.
Okay, so that kind of finishes off with Percona. I guess we should give our Oracle friends a chance next, and then we'll get on to Otto with MariaDB. Okay, so who wants to stand up? Can't remember everybody's names now. Mike, or Norvald, or
and yeah. So I think Norvald, really acted as the sort of technical lead here. From my side, we're working to make sure that we have all MySQL products with the quite proper Debian packages beyond what may already be in the repositories already. So we're trying to make sure that every single thing, including the new MySQL Fabric and things like that, are there. But I'll let Norvald go next and sort of talk about more of the details from a technical side.
Okay, so for the topic, our goal is, as yours, to get 5.6 as defaults. I won't be doing that work. Akil will be doing that work, I hope. I think the steps for getting 5.6 as default would be to first go through experimental upgrading package in Debian, and then if you take it from experimental or from testing, I don't really care, but I hope we have time to go through testing as well. I don't think it's that much work. I'll let Akil talk about when he can actually do it. So I'm more on the 5.7 side at the moment, I think, working on that. So I just want to get 5.6 out of experimental so I can push in 5.7 and get that going there.
I wanted to ask that question. I'm really curious. What is your time frame for 5.7?
I don't really know the release date, but we have had quite a number of milestones now, so I don't know.
Mike, do you know what's the time frame on 5.7?
It's coming along quite well. We'll do a few more DMRs and RCs before it goes GA like we typically do. But,
is it something that's this year? Is it 2014 or?
It's not ready for a topic in any case.
Okay.
Yeah.
So maybe the next one, but I'll guarantee.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, we can't really say it this time.
Okay. And And my other question for you, so for a user moving from their database from 5.5 to 5.6, is that transparent? Do you have to do anything?
There's the MySQL upgrade that you always have to run when running switching from one of the major releases to another one. In Debian and Ubuntu, that is automated in the post-install script. So I hope that should be automatic. At least what we've tested works well when you do an automatic upgrade.
Okay.
Cool. So should we move on to MariaDB? So Otto, do you want to give us an update on what your plans are around 5.5 and 10 and various other goodies that might be coming along? Still can't hear Otto.
If you could just sort of pantomime.
I went through a period of being able to do like some small amount of sign language. I could try. You got to do it slow and one letter at a time. That's all I've got. All right, it's text and I can read it. So just like watch, you can watch Otto and it's my voice coming through Otto.
It'll be like it's dubbed.
We can't hear you at all, no.
I think you're muted, Otto. Probably on your end.
Probably several layers of mute. There's always so many options.
Hardware mute, software mute, driver mute.
Exactly. Just oh, so I think he's coming back. So one of the things on my mind, I'll fill this time very briefly. So I asked earlier about the MySQL charm. Something that's on my mind, and James probably knows where I'm going, is one of the challenges we had at the very end of the trustee cycle, and I don't think this is really an issue again until we get to 1604, was we went and made our OpenStack charms available, and the MySQL charm wasn't quite ready, and we ran into troubles because of that dependency. And what we're trying to figure out is going forward is how do we maintain a tight connection between those that are developing the MySQL charm and those of us that are, meaning not me, that are developing the OpenStack charms, so that when we're ready to push the new version of the OpenStack charms, the MySQL charm is there. Anyway, I don't know if there's... I think you guys are just contributing to the charm. You're not owning it. I can hear you now, Otto. I can hear you typing.
Yeah, we can hear you. You're quite loud.
Hello.
Can you hear us?
Can you hear now?
Yes.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, there was an error while your app... Damn. Okay. Well, so the status of MariaDB in Ubuntu is that I've made... It was released with .36, and I've made an .37 upgrade in Trusty. It was a security release, and I got sponsored by the security team. So I've gone through that process, learned it, and I've done an MRE request, and it got accepted. And .38 got released on Monday, but I've been too busy to upgrade it yet. But I'm hopefully tomorrow or during the weekend I will upgrade the package so that it will be 5.538 and then get it uploaded into Debian and Ubuntu. And in general, I think everything is going well with 5.5 series of MariaDB. Can you still hear me?
Yes,
We can,
yes,
yeah.
Everybody's so silent.
Yeah, well, we're listening to the
And
what you're saying.
yeah, and I've actually become a MariaDB contributor by now because some of my patches have been accepted upstream.
Congratulations.
Awesome.
I don't have commit rights, but I've done merge requests on Launchpad. As you probably noticed, MariaDB uses Launchpad as development, but about 2 weeks ago they have opened a GitHub account, so I think MariaDB is probably seems to be migrating to Git on some kind of time frame. And then for the 10 series, that after Trusty has been released, there has been the 10 series has been marked as stable and released officially. And I've packaged 10 series for Debian, and I've got it sponsored as an upload to experimental, and it's at the moment waiting in the new queue.
I have a question, Otto.
Yeah?
With 10, have you moved the datadir to a different location?
No.
I am expressing my deep concerns about that. We've talked about it on the mailing list before, because they are no longer binary compatible. That exposes the users to a pretty large risk, I think.
So Clint, I think that there's a fundamental issue even when they are binary compatible, because there's in the gap between remove and purge, it gets very confusing as to which package owns it. So I think that what we really need to do is deprecate having any package speak to varlib MySQL and migrate it over to a varlib whatever you want to call it, and have some kind of MySQL defaults package which just tracks what's going on or something, or provides the common pieces or common packaging helpers to manage that.
Yeah, something that will own the datadir so that it has continuity.
Yeah, but I think that could provide migration functionality, for example. But I think that each package needs to start owning its own data directory.
Yeah.
That's something that I wanted to start a discussion on the Debian MySQL list at some point as to this is try and lay out exactly why it's wrong, what use case is broken, and provide a good justification for that, and propose. But it's a pretty kind of big change to everything. So at the moment, what I'm thinking is MySQL 5.5 is going away anyway. I'll get the virtual stuff in. I can get 5.6 polished up for Ubuntu and send in patches to Debian for all of that and try and bring that in line, and then start looking at the thing. But the data directory, I think, is fundamentally broken. And,
and now is the time to get that solved, because with 10 diverging in the binary format, you have another reason to pile on top of that one, which has always been true. It breaks P aparts and a bunch of other things. So I think that's a discussion to get started. I'm happy to participate in that, and if I can help, I will. But I definitely want to see an answer for what happens when I remove MySQL 5.6 and install MariaDB. I think it's okay if it just doesn't work. It's definitely not okay if it corrupts data or freaks out, does things strangely. So I think we need to add some testing for that.
I think what we should do is start with anything new owning its own data directory. Don't use varlib MySQL, just use whatever's appropriate, varlib MariaDB 10, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And if we care about migration paths, then we need to coordinate how that's going to work. But initially, you can just pull it out varlib MySQL if you want. So I would say leave varlib MySQL alone, but you can read only it. Read it out if you want to do a migration on your post-inst package.
So to be clear, there is no such thing as migration from MySQL to MariaDB 10. It's over. That is a MySQL dump. So that's
but I mean, that to me is a migration, right? If you want a post-inst to do a dump and restore, then do a dump and restore. Whether you want to do it or not is another matter. But but what I'm saying is, whatever migration is possible, do it in the post-inst of your own package.
Yeah.
And we will figure out some way via some kind of MySQL defaults package and some packaging helpers to let you know what is available at the time and for you to update that.
I think the two things to instead of migrations, I'd like to see the packaging work focus on co-installability, which includes the varlib own your own data, and also just making sure that the things that they do have to share are no longer needed to be shared. So that like the etc MySQL directory isn't needed by MariaDB. That would be a nice change as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with the motivations. I just haven't looked into this yet, but I made a note.
Fair enough. Nobody has, so we all know it needs doing. Nobody sat down and tried to figure it out yet, and that's okay.
I think we just need to draw stronger lines between what are becoming more divergent worlds. I think that's probably the case.
Yeah, the installer could say that it has copied the data over to a new data catalog or directory.
Yeah, so I was thinking that maybe like there'd be some packaging helper to keep track of what has happened, so that when someone installs something else, then we can decide later in a post inst what ought to be done. Where any individual package would be able to provide migrations or some sort of automatic movement of stuff on the basis of what's happened before, but then we separate it out on the responsibilities with that package. It's only allowed to do a read-only in all the other directories, but it completely owns its own and can do whatever is appropriate. So whoever maintains that package can implement whatever they want, but with the information available to them about what was there before.
Yeah, I think we can use the version. There's the flags. So if you install MySQL 5.5, then there will be a MySQL 5.5.flag file somewhere. I don't remember the directory, but basically you could take that information and combine it. So that
there is. When you run MySQL upgrade, you have information on what's been applied to that data directory. That's true.
So you can make a conclusion what format the data is in, and then
As a person who occasionally tries to address the Debian bug reports, I would prefer that the most simple, least complicated approach be taken. Saying to the user that the data will be left in varlib MySQL, and if you would like to move it into your new MariaDB, you can, is a much more attractive choice than let's write magical post-its. I'd prefer not to support those magical post-its. Yeah, and I don't think the team wants to either.
Examining the data directory makes sense to me for varlib MySQL, where we already have some confusion, and so we will need to examine it to figure out what's going on. But as we diverge, I think that we need to not rely on that for future packages. So I would say that makes total sense, but only for varlib MySQL. And we should maintain external knowledge as to what each package owner is doing. So I think that maybe some packaging helper will need to be able to provide that in a common way to MySQL defaults. And then each individual implementation can access that information to figure out what's where.
All right.
So Robbie, you're saying that we would leave the varlib MySQL in place, and then the other forks would do specifically named directories. That's what you're proposing.
Yeah. Okay. So I want to move away from having everyone share varlib MySQL, because it is buggy, and we know how it's buggy right now. And I will post the list explaining the detail.
Sure.
So if everyone owns their own directory, then they've got, each fork can do whatever it wants in its own directory, and if it can inform MySQL defaults via some kind of packaging helper, so there could be some kind of central table to keep track of what's where, which will permit other forks to provide tools. Clint saying don't do it in the post-inst, but make it a tool for the user. I'm sort of saying that's fair enough. I don't care which way around it works, but it just means that each fork is able to own its own migrations into itself, if you see what I mean.
Yeah. Okay.
And that way it can completely own its own directory, and we won't have this confusion that we do over varlib MySQL at the moment.
Yeah, and by not doing it in post-inst, you improve co-installability. so that you can keep your MariaDB binaries installed to assist you when you're migrating things, which is I think an important case. Like if you're trying to go either direction, you're going to need the tools more than you're going to need it to automatically happen.
And then there's a question of
either way, it benefits the end user.
Yeah. Then we end up with, like, say, 6 forks, A, B, C, D, E, F, and a complicated structure of which one we have migration tools to go into which other one. But we don't need to care because they're all independent directories, and so whichever ones are implemented can be implemented, and the other ones are just not available. And I think that's fine. Yeah.
Also, doing the migration by the user rather than BostInst allows the user to choose a separate time frame for data migration and for software upgrades. So they can install the new one, start to test it, make sure it works on the host, and then move their data.
And I would really love to stop getting so many bugs filed with PostInst failures, which is MySQL is one of the worst packages for that.
Yes, it is. So work item. Can we distill that into a couple work items?
That's I was going to ask that question.
Yeah, who wants to take that on?
So what are the work items?
Yeah, I will take on coordinate varlib MySQL to varlib fork ownership migration.
You're putting that in the Etherpad? Okay.
Yeah, is that sensible? And then out of that will come more work items. I'm not proposing I'll do all the work for all the forks, but as part of that, I would expect a new source package called MySQL defaults. If someone's got a better name, let me know. Where we can put common code to help the tooling around being able to handle this well.
So that's the only work item at this point?
Yeah, I think this will grow into many more work items, but until we've debated the details, the technical details, which we might as well do the mailing list.
I think you can count on one per fork as well, coming from that, which is to implement changes to packaging to store data in a fork-specific directory. So one for Oracle, one for Percona, one for Maria.
Can everyone fill those ones in, please? I'm guessing 5.5 isn't required because we're basically going to ditch that by the time we get to...
I don't even think versions are necessarily a good idea, but that's part of the debate. So just per fork should be the minimum number of work items.
Yeah, I have more from my status report.
So sorry.
5.5 is okay, and 10 is waiting in the new queue in Debian, and it's targeted for experimental. And I won't do anything for 10 until it comes in and benefits from the quality assurance tools that Debian has in place. But then I can make this change and other changes that are required.
So what's your goal for 14.10? Is to have 14.10 using MariaDB 10?
Yeah, I think that's probably the most appropriate thing to do. To make MariaDB 10 the default in future releases. I don't know if it will, what the time frame will be.
Okay, so it's not necessarily yet. Making it a default is not necessarily the goal for 14.10.
Yeah, but as you know, the new queue is very slow in Debian, so I don't know when it will pass it.
Seems like you wanted to live in experimental for a little while as well, maybe just even a month, and so people can install and we can test out some of these things we've been talking about. I would call that a major stretch.
Yeah.
For 14.10, a good one to try for, but I wouldn't want others to rely on it being there.
Right.
I'll help with whatever I can, Otto. I mean, in terms of sponsoring as well. So.
Yeah. And then upstream is already working on 10.1, but I haven't done anything packaging-wise to it, and I don't think it's wise to do anything for it until everything is done with 10.0. And then there is the Galera packages. So for a few months ago I did the basic work for MariaDB 5.5 Galera cluster and 10 Galera cluster. But there is one thing which everything is pending for, is that Debian should have a separate Galera package. And now, as James has done it for Percona cluster, it's inside that package. And I was hoping that James could refactor and do a separate Galera package. Both can depend on.
I'd like to have one Galera for all of the things that want to use it. And been talking to the guys at Percona about this because I'm unclear as to what the kind of API compatibilities are like and whether that's at all feasible. But I think that's something we can take on list and start the discussion there about having a Galera package that the other tools use. I think that's fine.
And the Galera guys had seemed interested in moving in that direction.
Yeah, so Codeship have their own versions of MySQL as well. Yeah. And we did have a conversation with them about whether they really work with Ubuntu, but I don't think they will.
So James, should this be a goal for 14.10 to move to I don't know if the right word is a single Galera package? Is that reasonable, or do we need to set the stage for it in 14.10 and we want to get there in 15.4? What do you think?
I'd like to aim for it. I think it can be a stretch goal, because there's obviously quite a bit of work to do already on the list we've been documenting. But I don't think it's unachievable. I think it should be achievable. So.
I'm not sure I understand Clint's double face palm because
he heard there was another MySQL.
Yeah, but I think that the Galera package the code should be fairly generic and should work. The same version should work for both Percona and MariaDB. So I
think this is more a reference to MySQL Galera fork, which the Codeship guys maintain. So that's
so many MySQL, so little time, Clint. So many.
The FTP admins are going to hunt us down. Just know this. We'll by the time we have all the forks of Galera plus MySQL, somebody's going to want cluster in again. We'll have 9. We'll have 9, maybe 10. It seems a little bit irresponsible.
So Matt, you're saying that you guys are looking at the single Galera package?
Yeah, we're looking into it on our end. So.
Do you think having it as a stretch goal for 14.10 is reasonable, or?
Yeah, I mean, maybe it should just be on the list as something to continue to investigate. And I don't know if we can make that determination now if it's realistic.
Yeah. Okay. But so stretch goal then is reasonable.
Yeah. Sure.
Okay. All right. Sorry, Otto.
All right. That's the biggest request I have for you. Please make the Galera package generic. Eventually.
We'll get there.
Well, if we want to really do that in time for the next LTS, I think it really is something that we want to get together in this cycle or the next. Right?
Agreed, yeah.
So we need to take steps towards it now, and if it doesn't happen in this cycle, then it has to be a firm goal for 1504. So.
Yeah. We're getting short on time, aren't we? So we had a few other things to cover, which aren't MySQL. So before we move on to those, is there any other MySQL things we need to talk about now? Allocate a further minute for discussion.
That just caused
Excellent.
a little tear, James. Look at you managing that. The time. Are there any System D? Is there any implications with the System D movement in the MySQL space? Or it doesn't really matter.
Yeah, probably. Well, we need a System D configuration for my banging around on the mailing list for a long time, but I haven't really focused on it.
I think we can provide one in a while. We're looking at System D as well. We already have System D script for MySQL in Fedora, so we hope we can use them for Debian. At least you will have something to build from.
Let's just go back to the sys5 init
Okay,
script.
cool.
Come on.
All right, James. I just talked about you now. Okay.
Okay.
So probably just to summarize,
So
the migration was just that we probably need to have upstart jobs and something else side by side for a while, or everything initd. Sorry, maybe I just made things more confusing.
No, I get it. It's for the upgrade case, right?
Yeah, so 1604, anything that had an upstart job that we expect to work will need a system D unit or an initd as an alternative to upstart for the migration path, and then eventually we can drop the upstart job, but that'll have to be post 1604. So we basically need to either be initd is the common denominator, so if an initd is acceptable and there's one there, then that's fine. If an initd script isn't present, then we need to have both an upstart job and a system D unit definition available for a while for multiple releases.
So like I said, just go back to the sys5 init.
Yeah, that'll work. But then we're going to end up with, there will be people who file bugs. We may not care, but there will be people who file bugs saying, you know, my bind installation requires MySQL to be up, and I was using an upstart job in order to ensure that that happened in that particular order, and it's not working with the initd thing, and can you change it around? And then you you could define your ordering thing for initd weird header, whatever, but we will get bugs, and we need to be prepared to fix them. Or tell them no.
Sounds like a foundations problem to me.
As they're not here. Yeah, excellent. Definitely a foundations problem. Okay, so the other things on the list were MongoDB status. I think we're going to go for a 6.6 stable during Utopic, sorry, because that gets us better ARM64 support via V8 in some way that we need to figure out, but we haven't quite got nailed yet. And the other thing that someone put on the list, I think, was meeting at DebConf. Who's going to DebConf?
I probably am, because it's here in Portland.
Could be a small, quiet meeting.
It's in Portland.
I won't be attending, sorry.
Well, it's in Portland, right?
Yeah, it's in Portland.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
it was discussed.
I'm in Portland. I'll be here.
Yeah, it was discussed at last UDS, so I just wanted to know if there's a meeting I can go, but if there's no meeting, I won't go.
It doesn't sound like there's going to be one.
Come on, Norval, do you want to come hang out with me?
I want to, but Jordan doesn't want to pay.
Never. Okay, all right, James, just move on. I'm offended. Just move on.
Sorry.
I think that's it. That was the last item, so.
Well, good, because we have one more minute.
Yeah, well, I had one on MySQL 7 and boosts, but we don't need to discuss it now. I just want to give you the warning that we will need boost as a build dependency, and we will require a very new.
So it looks like the version Utopic, I'd have to check with somebody, is 1.55 has landed in Utopic.
Yeah, that's the most recent one. 1.56 is out on August the 4th, and we will immediately upgrade to that in MySQL. We're doing heavy development in Boost, so we use all the new features we add to Boost in MySQL.
Boost has traditionally been very well maintained in Debian and in Ubuntu, so I think that can be expected to go forward.
And then we will probably stay on that version of Boost, the most recent version of Boost, for the whole GA lifecycle of 5.7, unless there's a really urgent need to upgrade.
So there's one catch here, which is that we generally only maintain one version of Boost and main at once.
Yeah, but we only need the header files, so we don't need any runtime libraries.
You can't build that app on it either unless it's in main, if you want to show in main.
So we're hoping we can support newer versions of Boost as well. It might require some patching and stuff, but we can help with that when the time comes.
Well, Boost has done a good job of doing backward compatibility for the most part, at least since the 1.4 era. 1.3 was terrible, but so I think you'll be okay. I mean, we've been talking about a 2-year time frame basically, right?
Well, for you guys, yeah. For us, it's a longer time frame. But we are a bit cautious at the moment. We're new to Boost, so we are only going to guarantee one version. But I hope we can support more recent versions than the one we depend on.
So from my perspective, I don't really know about Boost itself, but just in the terms of requirements for build depths and things, we need to be able to build dep on the latest version of Boost, and Boost moves fairly quickly. So we can take your patches. So if you can help us with patches.
Yeah, we will help with patches.
We'll get patches from Debian as well. So I know this is like a future problem anyway, but we have several things that in server set, MongoDB, Ceph, all use Boost, and it's never been a problem bumping a base version. It says this is just probably not an issue. There's been minor API incompatibilities, but nothing major. So, and that's normally because Doco enables some new compiler flag which says you can't do things that we were doing before. So.
Yeah, we've been with Boost for a few versions now, and we've been able to upgrade cleanly this quality. So it seems to work quite well with
Okay, cool.
All right. Anything else, you guys?
It's been lovely seeing you all.
It's so wonderful to see you guys.
too.
All right. We should do this again in about 3 months. Is when the next one is, if not sooner. I know we've talked about that before. So anyway, all right. Have a wonderful day. Take care. Thank you. Bye.
Thanks.
Bye-bye.